Welcome. We're going to tackle a huge challenge for business leaders today. How to get past all the AI hype and actually build real, scalable systems that bring in serious business value. Let's dive in.
Let's just start with a really common and honestly frustrating truth about enterprise AI. So many companies get trapped creating these awesome-looking demos, but that's all they are. They can't scale, they're not reliable, and they do absolutely nothing for the bottom line. It's what you might call AI's pilot purgatory.
So what's the secret? How do you break out of that cycle? Well, the key is to stop starting with the cool tech and start with the business problem you're trying to solve. To get beyond the demo, you need a solid strategic foundation, one that's built for reliability, security, and of course, scale. It's really about making smart choices that match your company's appetite for risk.
And it all kicks off with a really fundamental choice. And this isn't just for the tech folks. This is a business decision. You're basically choosing between reliability and flexibility. So let's look at the two main ways you can build these AI systems: AI workflows and AI agents.
Okay, first up, AI workflows. The best way to think about these is like a super efficient, intelligent assembly line. You map out every single step the AI needs to take. This makes them incredibly predictable, consistent, and super reliable. Perfect for those mission-critical tasks, like processing invoices or running compliance checks. The only catch? They're brittle. If your business process changes even a little bit, you got to go back to the drawing board and redesign the whole thing.
Now, on the other side of the coin, you've got AI agents. These are much more like digital teammates. You don't hand them a step-by-step checklist. Instead, you give them a goal, and they use their own reasoning and a set of tools to figure out how to get it done. They can plan, they can adapt, they're amazing at handling things you didn't see coming. But that freedom, that flexibility, can also lead to inconsistencies, which makes them a bit riskier for certain jobs.
So you see the trade-off here, right? It's really clear. With AI workflows, you're buying rock-solid reliability, but you're giving up flexibility. With AI agents, you get all the adaptability in the world, but you have to be okay with a little bit of inconsistency. Look, neither one is better than the other. The right choice is all about the business context.
So how in the world do you choose? Well, in the real world, it's not really a simple one or the other decision. It's more like a dial you can turn up or down based on what your business needs and, this is the important part, your tolerance for risk.
Really, the question you should be asking isn't workflows or agents. It's how much autonomy can we actually handle for this specific task? If you start thinking in terms of levels of autonomy, you can build a system that delivers real value while keeping any potential risks under tight control, especially when you're just starting out.
You can start at level 1, which is basically an AI co-pilot. It just helps out an employee, but the human is still totally in charge. Or you could go to level 2, supervised execution. Here, the AI does the heavy lifting, but a human has to review and sign off on the final result. Honestly, this is where most successful companies are playing today. And then there's level 3, full exception-based autonomy, where the AI runs the whole show and only calls a human when it hits a weird edge case.
And this visualizes that balance perfectly. See the green zone? Those are your projects with simple, clear decisions. These are the low-risk, high ROI sweet spots, totally perfect for structured workflows or agents with a lot of supervision. But then you have the red zone, long, complex decisions. These projects come with high risk and often a pretty low initial ROI, so you've got to start with a much more cautious, low autonomy approach.
So let's get practical. How do you actually apply this to your very first project? The absolute key is to not try and boil the ocean. You've got to start small, prove the value, and then build on that win. A great pilot project has a really narrow, super well-defined scope. For instance, an internal chatbot that uses a technique called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, to securely search your company's HR docs and answer employee questions. That's a perfect start. Or maybe a voice agent that just handles your top 3 most common customer service calls. These kinds of projects have a very clear path to ROI, and they let you test everything out in a safe, controlled way.
And listen, this part is absolutely non-negotiable. Even for a small pilot, you have to build an enterprise-grade guardrails from day one. This is how you build trust and maintain control. You need things like role-based access control, so your finance team only sees finance data. You have to protect sensitive customer info. And, critically, you need cost monitoring and budget alerts so you don't get a 5-figure surprise on your cloud bill.
Okay, so your pilot is a huge success. Everybody loves it. You're feeling great. But now, when you try to scale it up by adding more and more features, you're probably going to hit a wall. This is a super common problem.
You create what's known as the one big brain bottleneck.
The performance starts to dip, the system gets confused about what it's supposed to do, and adding new features becomes incredibly risky because you might break something that's already working. The truth is, one single agent just can't do everything well.
The solution? You have to think like you're building a human team. Instead of hiring one generalist to do everything, you build a team of specialists that work together. You could have one agent that's an expert on customer data, another that knows everything about inventory, and maybe a third agent that acts like a manager, routing tasks between them. That's a multi-agent system.
Now here's where this technical choice gets really exciting for the business. This isn't just a fancy architecture. It directly translates to business value. Performance skyrockets because each agent is an expert in its little area. You can launch new features way faster because your different teams can work on their agents at the same time. And you get huge cost savings. You can use a small, fast, cheap AI model for the simple stuff and save your big, powerful, expensive model for only the most complex problems.
Of course, once you have this team of AI agents running around your business, you can't just let them do whatever they want. They need the same kind of serious governance as a human workforce, especially if you're in a regulated industry like finance or healthcare. These are the absolute non-negotiables if you want to go from a cool demo to a trusted production-level system. You need robust monitoring to keep an eye on performance and accuracy. You need strict cost controls with automatic shutdowns to make sure costs don't spiral out of control. And you need proactive security and data governance to stay compliant and keep everyone's data safe.
So let's recap the whole playbook. First, always start with the business problem, not the shiny new tech. Second, dial that autonomy up or down based on your risk. Third, nail a small pilot project before you try to go big, but build in all your security and cost controls from day one. Fourth, scale up with a team of specialized agents, not one big brain. And finally, get your governance right before you even think about going into full production.
Ultimately, everything we've talked about comes down to this one question. By following this playbook, you can make sure your AI investments aren't just fascinating science experiments. You'll be building scalable, reliable, and truly valuable assets for your business. The choice is yours.